Hey guys, Peter here to tell you about the latest from Once Awake, self-titled Once Awake, on November 23rd as a self-release. The album has 11 tracks, 46 minutes in length, and this is the band's fourth full-length studio record. They are a Norwegian groove metalcore band. From a design perspective, this album feels a little bit lackluster, and I think that has a lot to do with the fact that over 90% of this record has already been released as singles. So there's not a lot of new elements for you to discover when you sit down and you press play. The other aspect of it is that it feels more like a compilation. They created songs, these songs came to life, and then when you reach a certain point, you have enough material, you can put it all together and release a full-length record that brings a compilation of all of these tracks under one single umbrella. Because of that, you don't really have this sense of journey, you don't have this sense of path. Now, that's not something that everybody wants or that everybody looks forward to, but I personally do. So I think this is going to be a record that from an overall feel or even an overall design, it really comes down to what do you want out of an album. If you're looking for great individual songs and you're not really interested in anything beyond that, you're not looking for a path, a journey, or something interesting that kind of blends these songs together, then this record works perfectly fine. If you're like me and you need the full-length album to offer something a little bit beyond what a single gives you, then this album feels short because you don't really get that essence, you really don't get that glue that brings all of these 11 tracks under one single roof, making them all push you in the same direction. Now, as far as the sound is concerned, the sound on this record is great. I really enjoyed it. Great production, great sound experience. It doesn't matter if you talk about bass, guitars, vocals, drums, synths, everything that this album has adds texture and at the same time adds thickness, volume, and heaviness to the overall perception of the album. And then you have some elements here and there, some changes vocally here and there that also have an impact in the atmosphere and in the levels of darkness that the record gives. These are all very interesting elements that make these songs have life, have energy, being engaging, and definitely giving you a sense of fluidity from the first moment that the song starts playing all the way until the last. An album, like I said earlier, made of singles, great songs, songs that have energy, that have life, that have a sense of togetherness and also a sense of purpose. Even though the whole record may not give you that, the individual tracks definitely do. Even the cover, the POD cover, works well in the overall context of the record, finishing the album with a live track. It's a nice little touch. It feels more like a bonus track than anything else. So these elements allow the record to have a lot of different faces or to have a lot of different ideas, but all of those faces and all of those ideas belong to Once Awake, and the DNA of the band in the sound, it's definitely there across each and every single song. Now, when you look deeper into that sound, I definitely have to talk about drums and guitars. I feel like these are perhaps the two cornerstones of this record sound-wise. The drums on this album have power, they have thickness, they help ground the record, but they also help give the guitars a little bit more space and room for them to expand and for them to grow. And when you have drums that allow the guitars to have that sort of element, to have that sort of feel, when you bring them together, you have that thickness of sound, you have that wall of heaviness that always feels like it's approaching you and coming closer and closer with every passing second. So the drum sound has life, has warmth, has depth, really important in order to give the guitars that groove, that force, those elements that makes the guitars really stand out in the overall sound, but still be part of that same overall sound. Drums, guitars working well individually and working extremely well together as one. Now, as far as the vocals are concerned, I really enjoyed their vocal approach. I've always have, and I think I'll always will. It adds intensity. The songs have already a lot of aggression, so I don't feel like you need to add more aggression vocally, even though they do add some aggression as well. But I think where the vocals really come to shine is in the intensity. The songs have aggression, they need that aggression to turn into intensity at times so that you can feel better the different ebbs and flows that the tracks offer you, but also feel better the lyrical content of the tracks. You need to be able to understand what the lyrics mean, and you need to be able to understand how to feel those lyrics. And having those slight changes here and there throughout the songs, slight nuances vocally, help define those lyrics a lot better and help define the moments of the songs a lot better. All around, I really enjoyed this album. As a record, I don't think this is the band's best album. As far as the individual songs are concerned, these are some of their best songs to date. I know it sounds a little bit like an oxymoron. How can you have some of their best songs on the record and not be the best record? Because in my opinion, these songs really feel individual within their own bubble, and they're not really working as one in order for the record, from the attitude and the perspective of sitting down and listening to it from beginning to end, to have more a sense of continuity, to have more of a sense of purpose. That's the only area where this album lacks, but definitely the quality of the songs is an improvement over previous tracks and previous albums. As far as favorite songs are concerned, I want to start off with My Deed. This is the opening track on the album. It's heavy, it's groovy. It's a clear snapshot, not just of what this album is going to offer, but of what the band does on any given day, regardless regarding their music, their albums, and how they put tracks together. I love the guitars. They play a huge role in the overall thickness of the sound. They pair up extremely well with the drums and what the drums are doing. The two complement one another, and that force that pushes you forward is not just coming from one, it's coming from both of them working together really well. The vocals add intensity to this track. This is also a track that feels a little bit more direct in the verses and a little bit more methodic in the chorus. This creates ebbs and flows, and therefore making the song a lot more engaging, not allowing the song to flat out and be super linear. Next, you have Crown. I like the movement of this song, because even when this song slows down ever so slightly, you actually don't feel like the song is slowing down. You still feel like you're going somewhere. So that tells you that they created a track that has incredible fluidity from start to finish, because you never feel like you're stopping. You may be slowing down, but you're never stopping. So it's a great track. It has great movement. It doesn't lose any of the heaviness just because it has more movement. Some songs normally lose a little bit in order for you to increase the tempos. It's not the case with this song. It still feels heavy. It still feels very thick, very textured, but it just moves better. It just has more movement within it, specifically when you compare it to some of the other tracks on the record, My Deed being one of those. So I love Crown because of the energy that it gives, and that energy is in the sound and in the overall vocal performance. Last but not least, my favorite track on this record, Ashes of an Enemy. This is without a shadow of a doubt my favorite track. It has all the right elements. Vocally, it's a little bit more dynamic, and therefore it creates not just musical ebbs and flows, but you have also vocal ebbs and flows. Musically, it's very groovy, very thick, very heavy, very aggressive, but it also adds a sense of darkness to it. The atmosphere of this track has a clear impact on how you perceive the song. It's not just about creating a heavy track, it's about creating a heavy track that has depth. And the depth comes from the keyboards, the melody that the keyboards infuse into the track. The synths really have a key component as far as the overall sound experience. What they're doing is twofold. On one hand, you're making the song feel very melodic, because there's a melodic underline that stays there from beginning to end, and you can feel the heaviness, but you can still see that melody intertwining with it. And then that melody also creates that darkness, so it has an impact in the atmosphere that makes this song feel a little bit more robust, feel like it has a lot more around it, making it feel more mature and also more complete. One of the best designed and executed songs that this album has in store for you. This is it, Once Awake, with their self-titled Once Awake, out November 23rd as a self-release. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.